because it's, you know, a good microphone, popular microphone.
Yeah. 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 Um, how much did it cost you?
That
Like,
one, I think probably at least $100. I can't remember, maybe 150. I can't
yeah,
remember what I
yeah, it
paid.
was around that. It was around that range for me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually surprised by the amount of functions this microphone has. Like, there's various settings for, like, recording environment sounds or doing interviews. I don't have mine selected for an interview, but I don't know. It's just like the normal setting for me. Um,
I think I have mine just always set on like the forward setting just for single speaker.
yeah, yeah, same.
Um, so we are live now. I don't know. This is an unusual time for streaming for me, so I don't know if anyone's tuning in right now or if anyone will tune in while we're live. But I'm sure some people will watch the video. But this is Video
Mm.
Drone with me, Disregarding Henry. This is the version of the show where I do a one-on-one interview with somebody. And today my guest is, I hope I'm saying this right, Charles Jimenez.
Charles Jimenez. Surprisingly,
Jimenez.
like
Okay.
it is pronounced Jimenez, but I don't know. I decided to pronounce it as Jimenez. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Well, if your preference is Jimenez, I will say Jimenez.
Yeah. Um,
Okay.
nice to talk. Yeah, it's nice to talk to you.
Yes, nice to have you. We were before the broadcast started. We were trying to figure out some stuff with the video. It looks a little dodgy right now.
Yeah.
Charles's webcam.
Yeah, my webcam makes me look like I don't know, at least 6 years younger. And 6 years ago was when I used the webcam. So I don't know.
Is it some kind of Twilight Zone effect then, where it's still capturing you at that age?
I don't know. So many stuff like that has been happening to me this week.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. Few weeks ago, there was this chav. I was waiting for the bus, and there was this chav who just decided to talk to me for no reason, and he knew me. He had this very distinct voice, and surprised that he even decided to talk to me. But I have this I don't know. I think I have germophobia. I have a tendency to put my hands near my nose and my mouth, and
Hmm.
this chav, and he was doing every single mannerism. It was just he was repeating everything I was doing
He was
without looking at
mimicking
me.
you.
I don't think
Without looking at
he wasn't even doing it intentionally. It was really weird. It was like he was like a doppelganger. It was weird.
you. That's very strange.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe there's a I don't know, like a chav doppelganger.
We're all supposed to have
Cerebral.
one, aren't we?
Yeah, I guess. And
Isn't that a rule?
I don't.
Because I'll catch doubles of people sometimes. Like it's actually kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like I worked at a Subway for a few years, and there was an
Mhm.
older woman there who behaved in a very specific way. You know, she'd call everyone hun, and you know she had just a way of speaking and interacting. I later got
Mm.
a job at a movie theater a few years later. There was another woman that worked there who I swear to God was the exact same person, but they were different people, but they were like copies of one another. It was bizarre.
Yeah, like it's something that's very intriguing to experience. But when you actually note it down and try to turn it into a film, it's not really. It's been done a million times. you know, but it's
Yeah.
it's amazing to experience it. And often I interpret my reality as being like, I don't know, everything in my reality is part of me. Like a dream.
Oh,
Um,
like an expression of what is inside you.
yeah, I find it really intriguing.
It
Sometimes when you
am
interpret
I
it that way,
Oh, I was just going to
sorry,
ask,
do you want to?
am I currently an expression of you right now, dreamlike?
Perhaps. Who
Okay.
knows?
That gives me an interesting perspective on my own life, but
Yeah,
I find this idea fascinating.
yeah. I don't know what emotion or expression I am in terms of you are. I don't know, but surprisingly, when you interpret your reality like that, it sort of seems authentic at times. I know it just works for me for some reason.
I think I kind of understand what you're talking about. That just where it's hard not to view the world in that way, from a very self-centered perspective. But
Mm,
there are times, yeah, where it seems eerily real, just like,
yeah.
why did that happen at that particular time? Why does it just feels like things are
Mm,
sometimes being placed there for specifically for you. It's
yeah.
strange to experience. It's like deja vu, that weird kind of feeling you get,
Yeah.
like that is coincidental, and it feels, feels ominous, or it feels, like it's kind of giving me trying to carry a particular message to me, or something being done for my benefit. It's strange to experience that. I think we all
Yeah.
have moments of that.
I mean, I do generally try to interpret my reality like that because, in my opinion, it just makes, I don't know, it just makes everything seem really more, intriguing. And I especially interpret my reality like that when I'm trying to come up with ideas. I think that really helps me. Um,
Yeah, sometimes when you get in a really creative space, it can kind of seem like ideas are just on their way to you.
mm,
Ideas are presenting themselves to you. It's like everything around you is now being presented as part of this idea.
yeah, I'd love to state that some of my methods for coming up with ideas were original, but like any other interview, when there's like a director and they always illustrate their sources as being very mystical. But for me, I just I just take my ideas from other people. Like David Firth, apparently, I think David Lynch, yeah, David Lynch as well. They take some of their influence from their dreams. I think
Yeah.
David Lynch has stated that doesn't entirely take reference from them, but he likes the sort of narrative feel of them.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I think
uh, sorry, Karen.
just I think we all in our creative methods, I think we all copy somebody to some extent.
Mm,
And then
yeah,
we just kind of build on that in our own ways. And that's where originality is born. It's building off what comes before, but adding something of yourself to it?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I never perceive being original as being, completely original. I don't think that's really possible.
Yeah,
But
I would agree.
yeah, David Firth takes reference from his dreams for his animations, and I've been doing the same. Occasionally, there are really weird and bizarre dreams, like the ones I've been discussing on your streams. Like I
Yeah,
don't know
you
if
do
I
post
told
those.
you. I guess to anyone who hasn't seen those streams, there was one I recently had about this ginger smiling girl who was in the middle of this grassy field, and she sunk into the ground like a video game character, and only her
Uh,
head was present. And she stared at me with her mouth just widening open, and her head enlarged and morphed into like a massive jug with facial features, and I was sucked into her mouth like a black hole. Yeah, and those types of dreams are extremely rare. I wish I had more of those.
like narrative dreams, you mean? Where like kind of one thing leads to another, or like ones you
No,
remember?
just dreams that are like to experience rather than just being a mishmash of memories. I mean, sometimes they can
Mm.
create, really intriguing dreams. Like there was one I had about the supermarket, which wasn't actually a supermarket; it was a shopping center. But they were like, it was a supermarket with, I don't know, specific places that were from a shopping center, and there was this escalator that wasn't functioning, and it had white grooves, and it was distorted like I don't know how to describe it, but it was distorted. If you tried to go on it, but these people with
Hmm.
skis were able to get on it, and I
Skis?
went on. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, they went on. Yeah, and so I went on, and
Sounds like something
gravity
you'd
was
see in like the
defied.
Google offices or something. This is the ski hill.
Yeah, but
Sorry,
yeah,
go ahead.
when I no, that's fine. I mean, keep. I tried to keep it brief because I could spend like an hour talking about it, but
Yeah.
he was defied when I went on this escalator, and on the top floor there was this wooden cabin in a fucking supermarket, and these two girls with umbrellas who I had met in an animation class wanted to kill this mythical creature that inhabited this cabin. And so I decided to rest myself against the walls of the cabin. And I don't know how to describe this, but my breathing and my heartbeat was reflected on the walls of the cabin, and that created a lot of sound. So I ran away, and these looked back, and there was this torso wrapped in barbed wire, and it was speaking to this only one of them, and this girl, I don't know, really wanted to date this torso wrapped in barbed wire. I don't know how I don't know how it happened, but the way by the exit, and I could still hear them at the same volume. And then there was, you know how like in shops they also, they have shelves where they put products on. Well, there was a shelf without any products, and I decided to lie on it. And then there were these chains with hooks that wanted to play a quiz, and if I if I answered incorrectly, then I'd just die. To answer all of the questions, I just rubbed the chains, and that answered all of them. And then the chains revealed themselves to be a fox in a trench coat, and and I laughed at it because it was so dumb, and this so angry that it turned into like this muscular demon, and it told me to get the fuck out, and I was like sucked away out of the universe, and that was the end of the dream, and that was just amazing.
That sounds pretty good. There's a lot of morphing, a lot of changing, and a lot of just gotta get out of somewhere quick. You think that's related to stress and anxiety, perhaps? Are you like an anxious person?
I don't know. I don't know how to describe myself, being in the body, but I don't know.
Because I know I'm a very anxious person. I get stressed out about stuff, and that often reflects in my dreams, I think, where I'm constantly getting anxious about something, or I'm searching, for a moment of privacy to do something private, and I can never get away from other people. It's like no matter where I go, other people can always see me. I never feel safe or secure. I'm kind of always exposed and vulnerable. So I feel like that's related, to my tendency for stress and anxiety just in my life. It's even in my dreams. I can never feel safe and secure. I hate it.
Yeah, nightmares, they're often like a trigger of stress, apparently. I don't know.
Oh, they're triggered by stress?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Do you ever dream in the same locations? Because I found, how like H.P. Lovecraft, he kind of had like this mythology that was, what did they call it? It was like his dreamscape that he created. It was like this entire fantasy world that existed in his dreams, and he wrote many stories that kind of took place in the same dreamscape. I find oftentimes my dreams kind of do the same thing. Because I've lived in basically the same town my whole life, and I'm hopefully escaping later this month, moving to Portland finally. But I found like there's a version of my hometown that exists in my dreams, and I'll often dream with the same kind of like geography and everything, but all kind of warped and in a different version, like a dream version of my hometown that is always consistent, dream to dream.
Yeah.
Do you get that?
Yeah, like I don't know, I'll dream of, I don't know, being in London, and then there's like a swimming pool in the middle of the road, like stuff like that.
Oh, and that like carries over dream to dream, that same pool.
Yeah. There's a lot of that.
That's funny. So you are an animator, yes?
Yeah.
Would you describe
I'm a
yourself?
surreal. Yeah, I'd call myself an animator and a surrealist artist. I don't know how to. I wouldn't say that what I say about myself is authentic, because I don't know. I still believe that I'm very early in the whole animation career.
Yeah. How old are you? Do you mind my asking?
Yeah, sure. I'm 17.
Wow, 17.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been animating for probably a decade. I don't know.
Wow,
But,
that's impressive.
I'm actually kind of surprised by, how I don't know. I'm really surprised by how long it's taken me to get here. But
It's a process. It's a never-ending process.
yeah. I'm still experimenting. This recent animation I'm making is based on a friend's dream, which involves seals and like men made out of cigarettes.
Oh, interesting. That's one you're working on now.
Yeah. The Prosperous Cleanse was basically just well, it was an experimentation. I like in the description I stated that it was a massive experiment
Yes,
for
this
my
is one of
later project.
it was an experiment for what?
Experiment to see if I could I don't know, see if I could take advantage of the whole collage style that I utilized in that animation.
And that's something you're planning on using on a later work?
Yeah, on this animation.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, on
gotcha.
this.
Yes, Prosperous Cleanse. This was one of the shorts I watched that you sent
Mm,
me. I, wa- I watched a couple
yeah.
that you sent me. You sent me some of your artwork, your illustrations,
Mm,
and some animated shorts, and a live action short. So I
oh
watched
yeah.
those. We'll be talking about those. But I'm curious though. What is I don't know. Do you see yourself as wanting to become an illustrator, just a visual artist, or do you want to get specifically into animation or filmmaking? Like what is or everything all at once? Like kind of what are your ambitions? I'm curious.
Well, currently I intend to do all, be an animator,
Okay.
be a filmmaker, and an artist. Although if I wasn't an animator, I'd be a filmmaker, and if I wasn't a filmmaker, then I'd be an artist, and if I wasn't an artist, then I'd be a no, a
A dreamer.
a dreamer. Yeah, I'm not. I wouldn't say that I'm a good writer though. If I was, then I'd probably adapt a lot of my work into that.
Hmm.
Although currently my main intention is to be an animator for
Okay.
in full. Well, I think it's mainly due to the fact that I've established quite a big skill. Well, not no. I don't want to seem condescending. Like what I mean is that I've established um a skill that I want to develop on.
Yeah.
Um,
So
if that's
so you kind of have an interest in everything. You're hoping to do a little bit of all of
Mm.
it, but the main focus is on the animation.
And although
Okay. Very cool.
I do have action films. I have a plan of making this short film about a man who's in love with a mannequin.
Ah, that
Yeah.
could be very good. I like that idea.
Mm.
Gonna get Ryan
And
Gosling to star in it.
yeah, sure. We'll play the window man.
Okay, so I've got Charles's links in the description for this video for your YouTube page where you have posted most of your work, right? The stuff you sent me, it's on there, right? Okay,
Yeah, I
and
wouldn't say. I guess what I will say is that on my YouTube page there isn't really consistent style. It's all just jumbled up. There's a lot of juvenile videos. There's a lot of the work that I'd show in my demo reels and my portfolios, and then there's just I don't know, but just obnoxious shit that I thought was funny.
okay. I'll be talking specifically about the stuff you sent me. So these would be the shorts: the Swatter and the Fly, the Prosperous Cleanse, and Enduring Inactivity. So
Mm.
those are the ones that yeah. In my questions to you and discussions, that's kind of my exposure to your work. So I don't know everything that's on your YouTube channel, but I do recommend that people check it out, and especially give these three shorts a look. I particularly enjoyed the Prosperous Cleanse. I thought that was a very good one.
Oh, that's actually my favorite as well.
Yeah,
I'm the most proud of that one because
yeah.
I just think that my intentions really, I know, were really executed well in that.
Yeah, I thought it was very well done. It felt very Gilliam-esque to me, but
Yeah.
with kind of a more sinister edge to it.
Mm. Well, my main inspiration for that animation was watching Jan Vankmajer's Surviving Life, which is his
Oh,
latest film. And
really?
yeah, I was really intrigued by the collage style that was very present in that animation. And it was a style I was really intrigued by. Um, I could utilize that in in one of my animations. And I don't know, I for the actual of the video, it was just sort of my just how upset I was with the industry, with the film industry.
Oh, really? That's where it came from?
Yeah.
Interesting. There was kind of like I did feel there was an element of horror to it.
Mm.
I thought it was very funny. There was something comedic about it in the strangeness and the repetitions. Um, but yeah, there was also something kind of horrifying too in that moment in the short where the cycle is broken and things get
Oh
upset for a
yeah.
moment. I almost kind
Yeah.
of related to my own stress and anxiety. I almost kind of saw it as like some kind of metaphor for like the mind or the body,
Mm.
betraying someone. It's kind of like you
Mm.
got these cycles and processes that just sometimes for no reason can malfunction and send everything into disarray, and then it's got to improvise a solution. So I saw it as kind of something related maybe to like disease or sickness or illness
Mm.
or something like that. That's the way I interpreted it. And
It's definitely about cycles, though. That's the one about.
yeah, so specifically for you, it was kind of about the cycle of like the film industry then.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily link it towards that, but what I was sort of commenting on.
Hmm.
So
So like kind of how there's this machinery, there's this industry in place for just kind of turning out basically identical product, and when that kind of gets upset,
yeah, and
it's
when there's something that breaks the formula, and when the response from the consumers are negative, it just breaks the system.
there's panic. Yeah.
And so in response, they try to take away any potential of there being another one of those formula breaking ideas.
Yeah, another piece of originality,
I
imagination,
won't
innovation.
see, the thing is with my animations is that an interpretation of the animation after I've made it. So that's sort of my
Oh.
interpretation of what it's about, even though I made it.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, I totally understand that.
So
Uh, I I've written scripts myself where most of the scripts I've written, it's kind of like I go in with a very specific plan and I kind of like
mm,
map everything out and I write like an outline of the story and everything, like ideas for scenes that I want. But a couple of scripts that I've written, I've just kind of done it. I've just started writing and not thought about it and just done it. And I don't even realize really what it is until after I finished it. It's a really crazy experience. I really enjoy it when that happens. It doesn't happen often, but it's like it's so interesting, to realize kind of what you've created after the fact. It's so strange.
yeah, yeah. I think that was more of the case with the Through the Loop video that I made.
Through the Loop?
It was the unofficial music video that I made.
That's right. Yeah, with the Willy Wonka song, right?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
write that down. I forgot to write that one down that I watched that one. That's right.
If I'm being perfectly honest, I think if I remade that video, I would have chose a different song. Um,
Really?
yeah, yeah.
It was a trippy
I
one. It
song.
was a disturbing one.
Yeah, a lot of people, because I was working on the film, well, not the film, the short for 3 months straight, just 3 months.
You were
And
animating that for 3 months?
everyone, yeah, everyone, because I was working on my art course, and a lot of people just kept looking over me, and
Trying to figure out
seems to
what
be
you're doing.
yeah, it seems to be the general response to surrealism. They always think that you're on drugs, for making such fucked up imagery, and I sort of take that as a compliment.
To me, that means it's working, that you're
Yeah,
reaching people in some kind of way that they may not
yeah.
necessarily enjoy, but you're reaching them, you know?
Mm.
It's
I perceive it a little bit negative is because that because I feel that I feel like more people should see this kind of stuff. That's what I mean.
yeah, I can see what you mean there. There is I guess for most people when they approach art or entertainment, it is kind of like they don't want to be made uncomfortable by something.
Mm.
And
Yeah, because that's not marketable.
yeah, but I mean, sometimes that's a big part of art, is taking you to those uncomfortable places,
Yeah.
or comedy even, of trying to take you to those uncomfortable
Mm.
places. I think
In fact,
what's that?
oh, sorry. No. I'll let you continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say one that comes to mind immediately for me is like a recent example is Darren Aronofsky's Mother, a movie
Oh
that
yeah.
upset a lot of people and made a lot of people uncomfortable. That I thought was a very brilliant movie. Other people felt
Same.
differently, but I can't say I blame them.
I guess the problem with Mother was just that it was marketed incorrectly because I guess a part of what the trailers were trying to illustrate were, authentic to the film. Although, they sort of illustrated it as, like how Possession was, illustrated when it was first released, some really twisted, fucked up film that, I don't know, everyone's gonna hate. Or like with Possession, it was more like, oh, it's this, generic film about this girl who possesses everyone, you know.
Possession.
Yeah, Possession. In fact,
Oh
Possession
wow,
and Mother are very similar.
you think so?
Yeah. They're both sort of absurdist comedies, and
Yeah, I
I
think
think
so. Yeah,
Possession is more of an absurdist comedy than Mother. I think
yeah,
Mother's more horrifying, in my opinion.
yeah. It is. It is. But I also, yeah, I now that you mentioned, I did think Mother. When I was watching it, I did think there was a lot that was funny in it. It became slowly less funny as time went on. I was laughing less and
Yeah,
less, as it continued spiraling out of control.
yeah. But what I was gonna say was that one of Ed, and he was very intellectual. He came over to me and I don't know, he had this very opaque interpretation of my that I didn't even think of, and like I don't entirely remember his interpretation, but I don't remember if you remember, but there's this mouth with like hooks holding it together.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. In one of your animations.
he perceived that as basically being, the media controlling you, the media forcing you to be happy. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And that was not the intent. That was just what he saw in it.
No. Yeah. And I thought that was really intriguing.
Yeah, yeah. It is interesting. And that's what I love about, yes, surrealist kind of works, is that they can be interpreted in so
Yeah.
many different ways. I mean, you see that
Yeah.
even just going back to what is arguably like the first work of cinematic surrealism, Un Chien Andalou, and
Mm. Oh
how
yeah,
many
what a masterpiece.
yeah, and how many different ways people read that movie. It's kind of like I'm always interested by that. I'm always interested in finding out the different ways people interpret works of art. For me, with something like that, if it's in Un Chien Andalou, if it's Mother, if it's Possession, or a David Lynch film, something like that, I almost kind of turn off the interpretive part of my brain and just kind of experience it. I just want it, to kind of wash over me and
Well,
just let whatever I'm going to feel or however I'm going to react, just let that happen. And then if later on I start to kind of put pieces together, then okay. But if I never figure it out, I'm okay with that.
yeah, I know what you mean. With Andalou. Is that the original name? But
Yeah.
perceive it as being I sort of perceive it as being Lou Buñuel and Dali's experience. Like, I don't know, I don't know. I sort of see it as a personification of art. Like the girl may be a representation of a canvas. I kind of saw that.
That's interesting. So like so if she is a representation of like art, or kind of the canvas that is being expressed upon, then there's kind of like there's violence expressed on her, and lust and eroticism. So it's kind of like, yeah, all these things that spill out of the artist onto this unsuspecting canvas.
Yeah, but then, see, the problem with interpreting media is that once they introduce something that's very, I don't know, bombastic or extreme, it breaks you interpreted. And for me, that was when they introduced the ending. I thought it was like 8 years later.
Yeah,
and it shows them all in the sand, and that was hilarious. That was just
just kind of a middle finger. 8 years later, the end. Yeah. I think that there's definitely, I think that's something that can be missed in surrealism often, is that there is a sense of humor to it, and that sometimes you are meant to laugh.
Yeah, I do agree with you. With Un Chien Andalou, it's mostly interpreted as just being Dali and Buñuel's dream. But with Jan Vankmeyer's work, particularly Alice, his adaptation of Alice, I don't think there is a way to interpret that film. It's so baffling. Like,
yeah, I saw that a long time ago. I really want to rewatch Alice, because there are things that stick in my mind, of like all the stuff with the rabbit and the sawdust. It's so strange, but it's hypnotic. I want to see more Svankmajer.
Yeah, unfortunately, his work is pretty hard to track down. For me, I tried to get like, I don't know, £12, probably be more if you, but it isn't cheap to buy.
Yeah,
and
a lot of it. What's that?
Anything?
Oh, I was just gonna say, a lot of it used to be streaming on Netflix. Netflix used to have a lot of really, when Netflix first started, they had a lot of interesting stuff on there. Like, they had like Paul Morrissey films and Svankmajer and like Shinya Tsukamoto, bunch of great stuff. Now most of that's gone. Like, the early days were wild and untamed. It was a savage land, but now they've kind of reined it in.
Netflix until last year.
Really?
Like, usually I watch my films on my computer.
Mm-hmm. I just find most people do it.
When watching a film on a computer, it's a very personal experience for me, because you have nothing else but your computer screen. I don't know, just watching a film on a TV screen, just, I don't know, it slows time for me. When watching, I know, when watching Inland Empire, it didn't really feel like I was watching a film. It felt like I was watching a nightmare.
Yeah.
I just accepted it as a nightmare that went on forever.
It can feel that way to some people. There's a very divided reaction on that movie. I myself even go back and forth on it, but it is one ultimately that I am an admirer of.
Yeah, I personally adore the film. I think it's one of Lynch's best works. I can understand why people don't like the film, even if I would, want them to watch the film just for the experience you'll receive. In fact, I think the reason why I like half of Lynch's films is because I have a very personal experience with them. I have a lot that I can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I like Inland Empire so much.
What is it that you relate to? Is that just what you were about to go into?
Yeah, in Inland Empire, I see the best part about Inland Empire is that I don't really remember the film that much. So when I rewatch it, it's always new. But with yeah, with Inland Empire, I found a lot of the conversations of my dialogue. Well, no, not my dialogue, my dialect. And I found that kind of disturbing when I first watched it because I was just like, oh my god, this is really a nightmare I'm having. It's not a film.
Oh, interesting. It felt very, very personal then, like
Yeah,
kind of like it was expressing thoughts in your kind of language, you know?
yeah. That's what I thought with Inland Empire.
Wow,
Although I
very
think the main
interesting.
reason why I enjoyed Inland Empire though was just the fact that it was 2 hours of pure surrealism.
Nearly 3 hours.
Well, that's including the credits because I think the actual film is well. I guess it is technically 3 hours the actual film, but like I remember the credits sequence being quite long.
At the
Oh,
end.
yeah, like the dance, the dance number at the end.
Yeah, I think the film is 179 minutes, something around there.
I think it's just 3 hours long. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's like right at or just under 3 hours, like Casino.
Mm,
Um, did you have something else?
I guess I do.
Okay.
Usually from my experience, I like to, I have lots of intentions to adapt my experiences into animations, and as I've
Hmm.
said before, like I'm going to adapt my friend's dream, with my own twist on it because the dream itself was very limited. I felt so. I well for this new animation, I don't intend there to be any substantial allegory, but I'm definitely I don't know something on the level of prosperous, the prosperous clans.
Or something along those lines.
Yeah, something along those lines. I'm
Interesting.
uncertain. I'm uncertain on what's going to happen in the animation. I know how it ends. I know how it starts, but I don't know
That's
what's
the
going to happen
essential
in the
starting
middle.
point.
When you make a film, um, you kind of worry about pacing,
Yeah.
and that's sort of what I'm worrying about right now. I'm thinking of how the tone will be. I'm trying to think of how I could balance the tone with the intentions I have.
Yeah. That's yeah, you gotta I imagine that's a lot trickier in animation because in live action you can kind of figure that out later in editing. But with animation, because yeah, you're by yourself drawing it all by hand, you kind of have to go in with a pretty solid game plan, yeah, as far as what you want the
Mm,
pacing and the timing to be. So yeah, that could be tricky.
yeah. For me, this is the second animation I've made where I've used a storyboard. For all of my other animations, through the loop was because it was for my media,
Really?
but every other animation storyboard for.
Wow, that's
Um,
impressive.
it's because I know I just find it much easier to just animate while I think.
Hmm.
Intrigues me. I find that much easier. Um, I know I
Yeah.
kind of get the sense when I note down an idea, just decays when I note it down. Do you have
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, sometimes. I guess it just depends on yeah, what the thing is. Sometimes it's better if you don't think about it. But for me at least, sometimes I think I get better results if I do think it through very carefully. But I don't know. I feel like everybody approaches it differently and gets the best results in different ways. Like Werner Herzog,
Mm,
never storyboards anything, and
yeah.
he's a genius that does these amazing things. But then you have um, like other directors like Terry Gilliam, who will storyboard every single shot himself because he's a former animator
Mm,
and is a genius as well and gets amazing results that way.
yeah.
So I
Like
think
I'm an artist and an animator, but storyboarding to be really difficult for some reason. I know, just trying to draw pictures that look authentic of my imagination is really difficult for me.
hmm. Yeah, I think it just depends on who you are, and what what gets you the best results creatively. You know, I think every creative person has their own process that leads to the best results. And it's only kind of just through doing it and trying different things and, you know, just through continually trying to create things that eventually your process reveals itself, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Hang on, I'll just be back in a minute. Hang
Okay.
on. Sorry about this.
That's all right. Take a look at the chat. People are commenting quite a bit. The Eyes of My Mother. I can't unsee it like Audition. That. I'm writing down The Eyes of My Mother. Daniel Drigici? Probably saying that wrong. But I am writing down The Eyes of My Mother. I'm trying to remember if I've ever heard of that one. Or maybe I'm thinking of The Eyes of Laura Mars, the one that John Carpenter wrote. Chasso, you put Charles's links. Thank you so much, Henry, for that very British correct grammar. Yep, I'm a stickler for grammar. You're welcome. Oh, Daniel, Eyes of My Mother. You'll enjoy the way it was shot and how creepy it was. I saw it in a theater last year. Creepy as shit. Wow, I'm surprised I never heard of this. Eyes of My Mother. I'm trying to think. It's like a Spanish movie? Or is that Julia's Eyes? Okay. Yeah, just I'm getting movie suggestions. The Eyes of My Mother.
Oh.
Have you ever heard of that one?
Oh, yeah, that's been on my watch list for a while.
Oh,
I've
really?
heard that say...
Did you say you've heard it's good?
Sorry. Film, like an... films...
Sorry, you're cutting out. I didn't catch a lot of that.
Hang on, you're sort of cutting out.
Oh, I'm cutting out?
But yeah, there are some films... Actually, no, you're fine now. But there are some films on my watch lists that I have, you know, I wanted to see for like years, and then when they finally came out, I realized that they're just drivel. That recently came out called Replaced.
Replaced?
This body horror film, which I think sort of like the Neon Demon, and I think the Neon Demon just came out, and I really loved that film. And I watched this, I watched this trailer for this new film that looked really intriguing. And when it finally came out, and oh my god, the editing choices in that film are just terrible. It jumps all over the place, and it's very bombastic at times. It tries to make itself seem, you know, much more substantial than it really is. I hate using the word pretentious. I mean, I'd recommend it though. I'd recommend it, but it's not like it's not amazing.
It was called Replace.
You have the DVD box, but the frame rate of the frame rate of the webcam is very low.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out the webcam earlier. It's not getting the best results off of that. But I'd like.
Sorry, I didn't say anything.
Right? Oh, sorry. I thought I heard like. Maybe I'm hearing an echo. I'm trying to figure out what that is. Getting some weird audio glitches, but we're just gonna try and work through it. But I should ask. I didn't really structure this as well as some of my other stuff. But influences. I'm curious.
Influences.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like, how did you get into animation? Is it just kind of something you always did, or was there a catalyst for it?
Well, with animation, it's sort of hard to discuss because, as I said, you know, I've been into animation for a really long time. I don't know what specifically motivated me to do animation, but I believe that it was just watching videos online and seeing how intriguing they were, and then, you know, seeing some stop motion films. I don't know, probably from Aardman. and
Yeah.
really liking those. I remember I used to collect a lot of Aardman VHS, tapes that would compile a lot of short films.
Uh-huh.
One of them was called Ident, and it was I don't remember a whole lot about it, but I do remember that it was an allegory of an identity, and the fact that when you're trying to configure your identity, you're basically in a maze. Yeah, until you look at yourself in the mirror and you realize who you want to be, and that's what I remember the animation of being. But I think that's what really intrigued me into animation. And then I think around I don't know when, but I was introduced to surrealism, and that really intrigued me because at that time I felt like if a film really emotionally invested me, or if it I don't know, made me feel something I never felt before, then I'd consider that the highest quality of art, and that's what surrealism did.
Oh, really?
Surrealism, yeah, I consider surrealism to be very important, not only to the industry life as and pretentious as it sounds, but yeah, I just feel that it adds so much to a painting or to a video.
Yeah.
It
Just thinking in a non-literal way.
yeah, that's what makes a film more than just being a moving image. In my opinion, involves you. That actually, is more substantial. Is more than just a film.
Yeah, yeah. So what was it that introduced you to surrealism? Was there one specific thing?
I don't remember. I guess it was seeing music videos.
Oh.
And I don't entirely remember which ones. I guess remember. I mean, I'd be lying if I said that I found out about surrealism like accidentally. But I don't entirely remember how I was introduced to surrealism.
Okay. But
I do remember. Sorry, actually.
No, go ahead.
I do remember for the first time, and that was the first realist film I had seen. And
Okay.
oh my, yeah, like I was very intrigued by the film. I think I used to watch Emo Provost. I don't know if that's his name, but he used to run this. He was unfortunately dead now. But he used to make these view videos, and even then I found them to be very obnoxious and very condescending. Like the people who made them are very, very terrible with their opinions, and they don't really seem to understand a film's intentions, and well, typical of that. But he watched Eraserhead, and he gave some very negative opinions on that film. Like he said that it's only for people who like pretentious art films, and that I go in to watch a film to be entertained, not to look at symbolism, stuff like that. And I thought, this doesn't sound like a film I want to watch, but it also sounds like a film I want to watch. And I bought a copy, and
interesting. So it intrigued you.
And my perception of film completely changed when I saw Eraserhead.
Wow.
And then I saw Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Good one.
That was the film that made me physically open my mouth wide open for the whole third act. I was just blown away. I couldn't believe that I was watching. I couldn't believe that I was watching something that was on Tetsuo the Iron Man. It was insane. I don't want to say specifically watching, but anyone who has watched Tetsuo the Iron Man will have watched.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great one. So what were you doing like prior to discovering surrealism? Were you just kind of like animating just things that made you laugh? Were you just kind of watching movies that you enjoyed?
I don't really think I was what motivated me to do more animations, because after David Lynch, I heard about David Firth, who made Salad Fingers and Spoilsbury Toast Boy.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm not so much of a huge fan of salad fingers, except for the latest episode. But
Never.
Birth, I think he's basically the the animator version of David Lynch.
Interesting. I've heard of this character, but I've never watched any of the videos.
But he makes really great ambient tracks, and
Yeah.
I think he was the one who really motivated me to make animations. I guess before that, I didn't have Flash, so I know it was on the Nintendo DSi. That was the only thing I had access to. That was
Wow.
2D. I think I used to make these animations about white figures. I really remember what the events were because I removed them. But
But it was just kind of
they
like
usually
messing around with stuff, you know?
messing around with stuff.
Okay.
But yeah.
So, what kind of movies were you watching before David Lynch? Like, do you remember what your favorite movie was, like before you saw Eraserhead?
Oh yeah. That I loved before surrealism was The Terminator. That was the film that really sparked my interest in films. Like I watched that film. It derailed to David Lynch and Harmony Korine. I don't know how I went from The Terminator to Eraserhead to Gummo. I guess when I watched Eraserhead, I was like, okay, I want to watch more films like these, and I guess I looked for art house films and I found Gummo.
You just look for you Google weird movies and that'll show up definitely.
Oh yeah, that's what I always do when I try to find surreal films. But unfortunately, looking for surreal films is like looking for water in a desert. They're very hard to come by, and when there are great surreal films, well, they're even rarer.
Yeah. But Terminator's a great movie too, and nothing to be ashamed of there.
Oh no, I'm not ashamed of loving the Terminator. Although when I rewatch it, I am kind of reminded of how self-explanatory it is. It really spells itself out to you. The sequel, yeah,
I can understand that, but for me, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm okay with a movie trying to make sure everybody's caught up with everything, as long as it can also, be a smart and interesting and well-made movie.
Because there is in Terminator 2, there is this message on war. Like I think there's this one scene where two children are playing with guns, and I thought that was great. And then like I think that I don't know if it's the Terminator or like John Connor. Like I don't know, they just explained the metaphor, and I was just like, really?
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. So I'm trying to look at me notes here. Some of the artwork you sent me, the illustrations, I got kind of a William Burroughs vibe from those. Is he an influence at all?
Yeah, he is. I watched Naked Lunch while half asleep, and let me just say, watching Naked Lunch half asleep or without thinking is probably the worst thing you could ever do. The book, I haven't read any William Burroughs book, although I'm intrigued to. Because it doesn't sound like any other book that I've ever read, though.
Yeah, it is very stream of consciousness, dreamlike, and just kind of flowing like almost like liquid, just from thought to thought and image to image. It's really, I think, just like stepping into somebody's mind and just following a train of thought in just whatever direction.
But like when I saw David Cronenberg's adaptation, I didn't know if I was not thinking or if I was just really confused. No idea what was going on when I was half asleep. And for some reason, and then the end happened, and for some reason I felt as if I understood what was going on in the end.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it. I haven't seen Naked Lunch for a long time, but William Burroughs, but that film was definitely an influence on my style.
Yeah, yeah, just the insects, even weirdly, like the collage style, because I feel like
Oh yeah, yeah,
that's really Burroughsian, because like of his cut up technique, of his way of like
yeah,
writing pages and then cutting them up and trying to match words in different ways. I feel like there's some kind of visual connection there, just in the way you're kind of combining different elements in that
yeah.
collage kind of style. Um, and Enduring Inactivity, that is that your only live action short?
Yeah, I was at home. I don't know. I was in this house. I was staying over for a holiday, and I recently watched. Well, at that point, I watched Begotten, and
Ah.
it was a film I was really intrigued by, although I don't love it. You know, I
Mhm.
find like technically it's an accomplishment in my opinion, but I feel like as a film to watch, it's very tedious and really to watch. But I was really intrigued by it. I was really inspired by the film, and so I really wanted to make a film. I really wanted to make an experiment, and so I thought with that I could just make, I don't know, some very surreal shot, and that's basically what I did for Enduring Inactivity.
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought it was strange that it was because like even the title I thought could be read two ways, and the
Mm.
way you rendered it too. It's like it's inactivity that just sort of endures, but it's also kind of like you inactivity that must be endured. Like it's weird
Mm.
because it's like it's about boredom essentially. Like I think you described it
Yeah,
as a soul endures another mundane hour, but
yeah, yeah.
you render it in this like assaultive way that is
Mm.
kind of like you're being assaulted with inactivity in a weird way, and it's just a strange like contrasting combination of like subject matter and style.
Mm.
It's really interesting. I thought you did a good job with it.
Yeah, yeah. I thought I did really well. I was actually surprised because it was my first attempt at trying to do something like that, and you know,
Really?
I really key into
Yes,
ensuring,
yes.
and I was actually surprised that I was able to do something like I did for Enduring an Activity.
Are there plans to do more stuff like that, like live action kind of
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Great. So you've got animation that you're working on right now, but you've got plans for other stuff
Yeah, I
in
was thinking. Yeah, I was thinking of doing this short film about a garden, and there are these naked people that I don't know, that have sex with this garden like daily. I don't know. I know it's very, it isn't really developed yet. That's all I pretty much know of it.
It sounds
In
like there's
fact, the
potential there.
story was probably the most developed idea I
Oh,
have. Although
okay.
I
Yeah.
know I want to make that one when I'm a bit more experienced in
Hmm.
making short films. I did recently. I watched, yeah, Inland Empire, and that really inspired me to make because it's all shot on DV,
Yeah.
and yeah, it just like made me feel like it was a film I made.
Hmm.
That
Yeah,
that
yeah.
really cheap look. That's what really inspired me to, I don't know, come up with more ideas for short films. But yeah, I'll definitely consider it.
Yeah, very cool. I hope yeah, I hope you do continue making stuff. Really like your animation. I think you got a lot of talent. And yeah, a lot of creativity, a lot of interesting ideas. So I hope you do continue pursuing this, and I hope to see more from you in the future.
Mm.
Hope to have you back on the show. And before you go, I'd like in the last part to just talk some straight movies with you.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I wonder. You mentioned Inland Empire. You mentioned a few others. This
Mm.
is kind of one I give to everybody. Is there a great film you watched recently that you wanted to
Yes,
mention?
yes. I watched The Cell. Thank you for your recommendation of The Cell.
The
Um,
Cell. I love The Cell.
yeah, yeah. I was amazed by it. I got a real Lynchian vibe when Vince Vaughn the dream or the mind of the serial killer. And
Yes.
I have the DVD here, and I feel like it's a very obscure film, but like on the DVD it says #1 US box office hit. You know, and there's like loads of positive reviews, and like on the back of the box there isn't a summary for the plot. Usually on like DVDs they'd have like like I don't know, there's like a something like that. So, but like there's nothing here. It's just quotes, as if it was a Razorhead, because the DVD because the DVD for a Razorhead doesn't have any descriptions.
Oh. Yeah, how do you explain it?
No, the cell was very explainable, but then again, you'd be kind of ruining the film if you explained some of the events that happened in it. And
yeah,
I always, whenever I buy a DVD, I never look at the blurb. It spoils the film.
Yeah,
and with this, I did really enjoy The Cell.
Yeah, I think that's a visionary work. I really love that movie. So
I really like.
What's that?
I really like what Tossum did on this. And I'm definitely intrigued to watch The Fall.
That is another masterpiece. I love The Fall. That's one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah. Some person talking about watching the film, and then some person, I don't know, on Discord said, "Oh, I remember The Fall. That was a really dumb film," without elaborating on it. So I don't know what to feel. I think it was Jack. I don't remember his name, but he recommended the.
Are you still there?
It's other film list.
Oh, what was the movie you say? He recommended what?
Yeah, but don't remember. I don't know.
Sorry,
but apparently takes a lot of. Yeah. Sorry, it's just my IMDb. It's taking a while to load up.
Oh, okay.
But apparently there's this film, or there's a story that The Fall heavily relies on you understanding.
Understanding what?
Understanding like the story or like a film. Apparently it bases itself a lot on the story or film.
The Fall does?
Yeah.
What does it base itself on? Are you still there?
Never mind. It's just it's taking too long to do. But I'll know what it is when I see it. But yeah, The Cell. Like I remember, I just wanted to see what people thought of the film after I watched it, and I don't like the nostalgia critic, but I watched his review, and oh my god, it's so condescending. It's such a terrible review. He completely misunderstood. He thought it was an exploitation film.
Yeah, I guess I can kind of see this. This is kind of the main reason I don't watch really YouTube criticism, though, because I feel like most of it does come from a place of snarkiness and negativity. But I think that's where comedy comes from. There's no such thing as a funny compliment.
Yeah, they always have this tendency to be really pedantic.
Yeah.
This becomes very obnoxious, especially with nostalgia critic, in my opinion. I understand why people enjoy it. I don't blame anybody, for enjoying those videos. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it's never really been my thing. And just kind of in my approach to doing it, it's always like, I want to give people a reason to watch movies, even if they don't like them. I want to encourage people to watch more movies, and to watch different kinds of movies. So I try to always be more positive and kind of humble in my approach. That's just the way I like doing it. Yeah. I mean, it definitely motivates more people to watch them, and well, that's what's motivated me to watch The Cell.
Good.
Yeah, before this interview, I watched Uzumaki, which is an adaptation of a manga called Spirals, and that was pretty intriguing. I hear a few people mention the film when they discuss, the weirdest films ever made, and Uzumaki's referred to. And I know. I guess I'd recommend it. Zumaki.
Okay. I'll have to look into that.
felt like a TV show. That I don't know, it felt like a TV pilot in a few places, but it definitely has some very interesting effects, and it's definitely well made for its $1 million budget, from its $1 million budget.
But did you enjoy it overall?
I guess I'd say it was good, but it wasn't anything potential, but it didn't really utilize that potential due to the budget.
Well, I've never heard of it, so I have to look that up, see what that's all about. I'm always curious to learn about more stuff, more movies.
Although, you know, if you want the really surreal films, then again, I'd recommend Zardoz and
Zardoz. Yeah,
I'd love to talk about Zardoz because it's such a bonkers film.
Yeah, but, my brother, he has it on Blu-ray, but he's in Portland right now, so I gotta wait till I get up there to watch it because I've never seen it. So yeah, unfortunately, I can't discuss it because I've seen bits of it, but I've never watched the whole movie.
Yeah, I do have 2 copies of Upstream Color. One was from HMV, and it very, very misleading cover. I don't know if you've seen it, but I don't want to describe it because I think it spoils the plot. But
oh, okay.
The film as a horror.
There are elements of horror. I don't know if I describe it as a horror movie.
Like there's so many quotes on the box that are just like, it will shatter your brain. You know, likely in a different context, but like you know, there are quotes saying it will scare you for life. You know, like stuff that you'd see on a horror movie box. In fact, the font is very reminiscent of a horror film.
Oh, that's strange.
Yeah.
I guess, or maybe it's not strange. Maybe it's just, you know, it's marketing, trying to sell a movie.
But I don't know. I haven't seen the film.
You still haven't watched Upstream Color?
No, I haven't. I'm thinking of watching Primer one more time before I watch Upstream Color, as if it will help me understand Upstream Color, because I know I won't understand Upstream Color until my 4th watch.
Yeah, it's I'm constantly discovering about things in that movie every time I watch it, of just like connections that it's, you know, that it's suggesting through entirely visual means. It's a great movie though. I think you should just sit your ass down and watch it.
Yeah, I definitely need to watch it. But again, you know, it's like with Inland Empire, you really have to be in the right mood. Well, I feel I have to be in the right mood for it.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, you've definitely got to be willing. It's an experience you do have to be willing and in the mood to give yourself over to. For me, it's like watching Tarkovsky. I got to be in the mood for Tarkovsky.
Yeah, definitely.
So last thing here, do you have any recommendations for like movies you feel like we already mentioned a few. I mean, like The Cell, doesn't really get, I think, the recognition it deserves. But do you have like just a pick for like a personal favorite of yours that you just like, you want more people to see, you want more people to know about, or you feel like is heavily misunderstood?
Oh, I have quite a few, but the one film that I recommend for everyone to watch, which I don't know if they'll love or hate because it's a very obscure film, but this is a cash-in of Felix the Cat. Basically, it's a Roger Corman film. It's this.
Yes.
And the film was originally called Roger Corman's Cheap, you know, as a joke on Roger Corman, but Roger Corman didn't like the name, so they replaced the name of the film to Dirty Duck, and it's this animated, this very amateurly made animated film about Willard Eisenbaum and his quest is to get laid, but it's a very surreal film. It's like it's so nonsensical. It's I don't know how to describe it, but it's so fucking weird.
And it's definitely.
Again, I'm having a really difficult time trying to describe it, but it's weird. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. You mentioned this in a stream Yeah, that I did a little while ago. I had never heard of it when you mentioned it, and I wrote it
I
down.
wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. I think the only reason why people know of the film is because this channel called the Cinema Snob reviewed it. One of my
Oh, okay.
friends, one of my friends who watches them recommended it to me, and I was just amazed because it was like, there's no logic. It's like the film's like it was written by people who are high, you know.
Which it was the 70s, so they probably were.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so funny that I heard of that movie for the first time after you mentioned it on a stream, and then I started watching a lot of trailers from hell. Do you know that channel?
Oh yeah. They made a video on Sheep. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. And sorry, what was that?
Um. Oh yeah. I like to refer to the film as Sheep because it makes much more sense in the context of the film, and you'll understand why when you watch the film.
Okay, but yeah,
But it's some trivia worth knowing. But yeah, Karen.
yeah. It's funny though, like just serendipity, how it happens sometimes in life. I hear about it for the first time consciously when you mention it, and then I start watching a bunch of trailers from hell videos, and that one just comes up, and it's like, wait a minute, Dirty Duck. Somebody told me to watch that, and I watch the video. It's like, oh, okay, now I know what it is for the first time. It's just so funny it's synced up like that. But yeah, I watched the trailer and listened to the commentary on it. So yeah, I know I am at least familiar with it now. I have not yet seen it, but yeah, I do have kind of a familiarity with it now. But it's just funny how that happened.
I guess what's important to note about Dirty Duck is that don't take it seriously. It's not a film to be taken seriously because the people who wrote the film, as I said, were likely high when they wrote it. Because nothing makes any sense. I guess one other thing to know is that the film is very difficult to track down. It's on DVD. It's on DVD, but it's I think it's free on YouTube. So
okay, yeah, I do have it written down on my watch list, so I've already got that one on there.
Yeah, but if I could recommend one more film, that would be Possession. Possession. Yeah, I heard of Possession a while ago, and I don't know, someone said that it was a really intense and insane film, and I watched like 10 minutes of it, but I turned it off, because I was really tired. And then I watched it like a year later, thinking that it was going to be this really intense, extreme film, and then I see Sam Neill, chasing after, I don't know, the main actress, just bashing down every table and chair, and I'm just like, what the fuck am I watching?
Yeah.
Derails from there, and you have the main actress screaming in a subway. I don't want to give away what happens, but it's such a funny film to watch. It goes off, you don't expect it to go, in my opinion.
Yes, yeah, it's like nothing else. It really isn't. Yeah, that's another very good one that yeah, I would concur with your recommendation there. So Charles, I think that about brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
It was a little tricky working out, but we finally got it to happen.
Yeah, a little bit tricky. I will be honest. I wasn't entirely organized on my responses either. So if there is another interview, I don't know, in a year or so, I'll try to be more organized. I really didn't think I was entirely ready for this. I don't know. I guess it's my first time, doing this sort of thing, so I guess that's why.
Yeah, I think it went well. I don't think you. Yeah, I think you did fine. It's all right.
I personally felt that I rambled on a bit. I felt like I did drag out some stuff, But yeah.
No. It was interesting. I found it all interesting, and yeah, it doesn't have to be a year before you come back on. You could just come back on. Yeah, we could just bullshit about movies, But yeah, so anyone watching now or watching at a later date, check out Charles Jimenez's movies, his animated shorts and his live action shorts on his YouTube channel. You can find the link in the description. Enduring Inactivity, Prosperous Cleanse, The Swatter and the Fly. What was the other one? Time Loop?
Through the Loop.
Through the Loop. Yes, sorry. Check out all those. There's also a link to his DeviantArt. You can check out some of his artwork. Very interesting stuff. And yes, young Charles, I do believe you'll go far. I look forward to seeing what you do in the. Yes, I look forward to seeing what you do in the future.
Same with you.
Oh well, thank you. And I guess that's about it for this episode. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And anything you want to add, Charles?
I don't know.
Okay, well, we're all good here. I think, yeah, I'll sign off. Say, see you next time.
See you next time.
Okay. Bye-bye, everyone.